That's always what happens if wait, I'm going to put up a 2 so I'll know this is to put this after the other one. Um, that's always what happens when you look up and go, okay, oh my gosh, it's 17. I don't want to finish now because I want it to be under 20. Oh my gosh, and then you get on something interesting. What I was saying about my character when she goes, she goes from a slave, a pampered slave, pretty much a possession, when she lives on the plantation, and then she's her own mistress of of the manor when she moves to Missouri. She has to do all the things the mistress has to do, and the canning and what I mean, for the heavy stuff like that, she has help, and stuff like that. But she does, she basically takes care of her own, a well-to-do lady that, takes care of, she's a hand-on, housekeeper and stuff. Because of course she's been trained in that sort of thing. When she gets to New Orleans, her life really changes, and I think that when she goes to New Orleans, she he makes her into the super her. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, because he's seen that she knows how to entertain. He sees that she knows how to, go to functions, and he sees that, she knows how to do, a lot of the things that, she was raised to do on the plantation. But he also wants her to, learn how to, handle a staff of, servants and run a house from that point of view. And she really um, throws herself into it because she really likes it. And I think um, she knows that he's like trying to perfect her before he takes her to England. Because it's one scene where he's trying to something about serving tea, and you had no, it was about placemats where because you put little cards down where you wanted the person to sit, and she was gonna have this elegant party or something, and she's trying to figure out where to put some cards and something, and then she gets like totally overwhelmed. And he's not very sympathetic, to her, and then and that's another thing too, she gets to see another side of him. She gets to see more like what he was in England, what he was like as a country gentleman. He changes clothes 2 times a day. He goes to he goes riding, and he, instead of doing farm work, and he goes to the Huntsman. There's a club, down in New Orleans that he likes to go to, and ride and stuff like that. And they have these, like I said, they have these big parties, and all these extravagant things, and the Christmas party is just out of control, that they have down in New Orleans, because of course they miss all their friends. They want the snow. She is one, I think, just kind of a funny thing. She says that she likes living in New Orleans because it's winter, but when they get down there it's winter, because they actually spend Christmas down there, so of course it's warm enough to go to the beach. And she says that one of the things that she likes about New Orleans is that she can wear her pretty clothes all the time and don't have to wear a coat or a coat, or she'd be in white woolen mittens, and pattens, and 5 scarves tied around her head, by this time, if she was back home in Missouri. But down here she can wear her, and she learns a lot about, of course she knew how rich women lived. I don't think she was really prepared for the amount of work it took to, instead of just doing something herself, that to have a servant, have to have servants do this and servants do that, and she had to oh, and what I was talking about children, that's why I started this whole triad. Um, One of the things she does not like is that she has, by the time they get to New Orleans, she has her adopted daughter, and she has their baby, who's about 1, and the kids are separated from her parent. Well-to-do parents were not very hands-on at all, which I imagine they aren't now. They have a nanny, same kind of thing. But both of her children, um, both of her children have different nannies, and they go off with different nurses, and they're at play dates and at the park, and they're doing these kind of things apart from her. And she doesn't have a she doesn't know where her kids are every single second. She's a very hands-on, very good mother, and that's one of the things she doesn't like. And also one of the things that's kind of funny, of course, in Missouri they slept in the same bed. Back on the plantation, she had her own little house until she married that slave guy, and then he just kind of lived there because she wasn't going to live there with him. So, but in Missouri, of course, her man sleep in the same bed. When they get to New Orleans, that's just not how it's done. They have separate bedrooms. And of course, she sleeps with him, 99% of the time. But she does say at one point that it is rather convenient. She has to, because a lady would lay down in the heat of the afternoon, draw the shades, and, lay down for, an hour or so, take a little rest. um, that's still a good idea. When I have a super busy day and one of those days where I'm going from dusk till dawn, and dawn to dusk, I do try to lay down and put my feet up for just 10 minutes. Just lay down and put my legs up higher than my bottom, prop them on the pillows for just a little while, and just kind of, collect your thoughts, collect your strength. And so she said that it was rather convenient, because if she was in her room, having a bit of a rest, laying down in the middle of the afternoon, in the hottest part of the afternoon, and he wanted to change clothes to go somewhere else, that it was actually rather convenient, or she wanted to change clothes. And I think she um she really enjoys the having all the jewelry and having all the clothes and changing beautiful outfits 2 or 3 times a day, and just having just pointing to what she wants. And a lot of the because when she was in Missouri, she had an idea that he had money, but everybody was poor, and rich and or poor kind of lived the same life. They got up and worked in their field, whether it was 100 acres, or a little backyard garden. And men got up, and that was something else. Jobs. I don't want to forget that. So let me write it down. But in when they're so everybody kind of lived the same lifestyle. When they get to New Orleans, she realizes how really how actually wealthy he is, that he has just it just coming out of the he's just really, really wealthy. And this really surprises her also too. Like I said, he cuts his hair a little bit, because he had it real long, like Indian, like long, because he was a member of the tribe, so he had it way down on his shoulder, and he didn't care because he was in the wilds of Missouri. So he kind of cuts his hair, and she kind of goes, and I think she begins to see him as like the gentleman, that he was, that the kind of things he does now. And she really, she likes it a lot, and she likes having a lot of his time with him. And she's also in charge of his she's his secretary, and in New Orleans. And she almost needs a secretary for herself, because there's things that charity things and things for churches. And she really enjoys her time in New Orleans, when she really thought that she wasn't going to at all. But she really gets into it and everything, and shopping and having whatever she wants. She don't like the when the boats come, she goes down and goes, oh my gosh, I don't know about this. And she decorates the boat, and kind of gets the ship, the fleet of 3 ships that comes to pick them up, to take them to England. So a lot of really important. Oh, jobs. I said jobs. um Pretty much, men had a skill, blacksmith, that kind of thing. Then of course you had your educators, those kind of people, um all kinds of smiths and coppers, and those kind of and Fletcher's early. There are people who make arrows and people who made weapons and people who, it wasn't a lot of like industry, but there was some, there was paper making, there was um especially when there was a lot of building, there was a lot of log work. Logging is big out here too, because like I said, I live in Washington State. It's a lot of logging work, that kind of thing. As far as, but basically, a man just got up and went outside and worked in his field. That's what my character does. He gets up, he puts his work clothes on, he goes out and oversees, even though he owns the jump. He still goes out there, and works along with beside his foreman and the caretakers of the land and stuff like that, and with his men, he gets a lot of respect for that. But when they go down to New Orleans, she for one thing, she entertains on a scale she never ever ever thought. And what part of the thing that's difficult is that she doesn't have her support group, because back in Missouri she has the foreman's wife, and she has the Indian woman who's, her and her husband are the caretakers of the land. She has her, and then, she has some of the ladies in town that she associates with, and they're close in a different way because they all have hardships. They're all living, to different degrees, but they're all living in the frontier, and they're all working very hard always. And when she gets to New Orleans, though, she has a group of friends who are basically in her own uh, category, but in a different way, though, because she she and my male leading character are more or less married. They can't marry really, but there's a couple reasons why. But they can't marry, but they live as man and wife, is what I'm trying to say. A couple of her friends of this group that she is with, one of them, he owns the woman. The white guy owns her. She was a gift to him from his parents or something, and something. And then one of the women and the man that she runs around with, they're actually gamblers. They go from place to place. They're nomads. They go from here to there. And then also too, I had to make it believable. I had to make a white man traveling with a black woman on the gambling circuit. That kind of thing would be something you'd expect to happen. Something you expect to happen. Like a rich planter with a slave, a beautiful mistress, slave mistress. Even he may have a white wife, but he would have a mistress, and that was like, okay, okay, okay. So that kind of makes sense. And then, like I was saying before, there were women who were groomed from a child in order to be educated and and for the express reason of being the mistress of a wealthy white man. And it happens to be one of those kind of people in this little group she hangs around with. And I can't remember what the fourth person does. Okay, he owns. They run around. She owns him, and it's another couple. It's another couple. Okay, I can't even see. I can't remember my own stuff. Or is it? Is it only just the three? But anyway, she meets these women who have lived the same kind of life she's lived. She the same kind of privilege, but even like jacked up. Super super jacked up, and the things they make their own entertainment. They have each other to parties. They go to things like vaudevilles. Like I said, like just keep things realistic. Just keeping things realistic. And my character takes my male character takes my female lead character to the opera and things like that. It exposes her to all these things, and then he gets the super her. He gets the um he ends up getting the souped up version of what he always has wanted. And she kind of feels that, because she gets kind of frustrated with him, and she's like, look, and he reminds her exactly. She snaps at him something about knowing certainly knowing how to lay out tea. And then he kind of says to her, yeah, but have you ever served it to a titled person. I'm not going to go into it. And she's like, well, no, so I think that, and I don't think it's a feeling that he's afraid he's going to be ashamed of her when he gets to England. I think it's just actually the way I think it's coming off from him, the vibe I get from him, and I wrote the man, okay, but the vibe I get is that, he wants her to be prepared, and their ward that they have with them, to be prepared when they go to English, society, the society they're going to be in, and practice makes perfect. And I think that's part of him wanting to make sure that she's, absolutely, secure, because she could have gone from the plantation to England. I mean, because she had had that kind of upbringing with just a few, little, touches up there as far as etiquette and stuff is concerned. But now when she gets to England, she really will be um, quite polished, and she'll know how to handle a staff of servants, and she'll know what her place is, what she does and does not do. And she'll have that attitude, she'll be less of, she doesn't like the fact she isn't as hands on with her children. She waits till he goes to the club, and then she goes and gets some, and takes him for a walk or something. And he's it's also the first time she's ever had, like, it's kind of stupid, but it's kind of neat though. She really loves animals. She missed all her animals back on the farm, so he actually goes out and get her these little sissy poodles, and they're all clipped up and stuff. She really likes. She takes them for walks, and she spends like a lot of time in the dress shop, and she spends a lot of times with her friends, and like I said, a lot of time entertaining, and she really is living, a really good life. And I just thought that that would be really good for her. And I think, kind of think like he does. It'll make her very much secure, because I know, a little bit of, even when I was in the Marine Corps, one of the last lessons was that you had tea. You had a tea, and like if your parents were close enough to come down, they could come, and you stood around in your dress uniform and your high heels drinking tea. I mean, and that was just part, I bet you they don't do that now, but it was just part of, you also learned etiquette, you learned makeup and stuff, and what colors you could actually, there were colors you could and could not wear with your uniform. This that I got on, I could get away with the summer uniform, but in the winter uniform you wore red, reddish, a red lipstick when you were uh, called upon to wear it. So if you were in a dress uniform and you had a certain kind of purse, and you did, you wore a skirt at different times, and you did different, it was different protocol of what you and how you presented yourself when you went out in public in your uniform and stuff, and they had hair, and all that kind of thing that was important, in the 70s like that. But I get now, I see some of them soldiers in the store, and I'm just like, honey, a little makeup, and you can do your hair and a French twist or something. You ain't got to be looking like that. But then again, they're soldiers, and they don't care. They're out there taking care of the world, so I can sit here and make a fool of myself on YouTube, and I'm free to do so, and I can say whatever I want. So, okay, yeah, I'm at 18, 22, 23. I think what I'm gonna do is maybe make one more about, I keep writing, okay, I'm gonna yeah, maybe do one more. By that time it'll be time to have something to eat, and then yeah, I've got to get some work. I got to do some work, so I think one more, and that'll be it. And I probably won't upload them until tomorrow. I know I'm not going to do that tonight, because I'm not even going to look at them. No, I think I will look at them. I think I will look at them, and then so see you later.